Good morning, this is Vicki.
And this is Jo.
And we're the two natural ladies.
And we talk about the good news we all need and ways of getting the most out of life.
We help people with practical, uplifting ways we can all make a difference.
And we're striving for better, not perfect.
And we love a good laugh. Please enjoy the show. So, back to parenting.
Yes.
It's a never-ending thing.
Ah.
That is one of the things, isn't it? You know, I think sometimes you think once they're adults, you know, then you can just let it be. Well, no. I don't. You're always a parent for the rest of their lives, your life.
Yeah. Well, I feel grateful actually for the opportunity to debrief a bit with the kids.
Yes.
Because it is a bit of a debrief. And our parents didn't really have the awareness that we have it. We did some quite a bit of personal development, and part of that was completing with your parents,
yes.
and then our kids did it, and that was about recognising that your parents are human.
Yes,
which is what my eldest daughter was saying last night. She felt like she always thought, adults had it handled, and she was waiting for her to have it handled,
right.
And now she realises.
You never have it handled.
We don't have it handled. We're just people. Yeah. But we had that awareness raising our children.
Yes.
Which
probably, I wonder if it sometimes gave us more angst, because I look at my parents and I'm sure there were moments, but I should ask them, because it felt like to me that they just went on with their lives, you know, obviously included us, but they still went out to parties all the time, and, you know, they sort of lived their lives and were there for us. I mean, and I guess one of the wonderful things for me was my dad was a school teacher, so he was around during school holidays, which a lot of kids' dads wouldn't have been.
No.
But one of the great things we did was parent effectiveness training.
Ah, yes, we did. Yes.
And we came to it together, didn't we? We were talking about parenting, and we were on the phone, I think, or on Zoom, and we went, oh my gosh, we did this amazing course.
Yeah, and we forgot. But it was a big part.
Yes.
And I was friends with one of the facilitator who taught us at the time, and I was thinking I haven't asked her yet, but it'd be good to get her on.
It would, yes.
Because that was huge, and that was all about actively listening.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you can apply it to anything.
Yeah, it was the two components I remember is the active listening, and I can remember when I first did it, and with my eldest son, and I'd be active listening him because he was going through a particularly hard time, and so I'd be trying to, which is basically saying back what they say. So if they say, I'm really upset with you, you'd say, oh, so you're feeling really upset with me, and then they'd say something else, because you'd often find that what they would initially say, and it's the same with adults, by the way, it was not actually what was going on. And by active listening and not putting anything on top of what they're saying, they had the ability to work through it. But he'd know what I was doing. He'd say, stop doing that stuff with me, you know. So I'd be like, oh, okay, so you don't want me to do that stuff. Yes, you're still doing it.
Yeah.
But I just thought I'd tell you a few bits. P.E.T. began over 45 years ago as the first national parent training program to teach parents how to communicate more effectively with kids and offer step-by-step advice to resolving family conflict so everyone wins. This beloved classic is the most studied, highly praised and proven parenting program in the world, and it will for you. But yes, the other thing was is this your problem or their problem?
Yeah.
I loved that.
Yes.
Because the messy room, their messy room, don't make it your problem. It's their problem.
Yeah.
And those kind of things really, it distinguished what you needed to work on and what you could just leave.
The pick your battles thing. Yeah. Well, the other thing is the percentage. I don't know whether it was Cheryl, my friend, or whether it was in the education, but, often I'd be like, I'm failing or whatever. Yes. And she'd say, you're doing better than 80% of, others who have not done this work. So, because you have that awareness. So just keep going.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when I remember it, it's great to do even now, you know. And I think I do it partly, but then I can add things on, and it's that whole thing about not adding anything to it. And I'm just a couple of things that they've got here: how to listen so kids will talk to you, and talk so kids will listen to you; how to teach your children to own their problems and to solve them; how to use the no-lose method to resolve conflicts; And it was very compassionate.
Yeah, well, and Ash, my second eldest, when I was walking on the beach with her talking about parenting, she said she's not sure if she wants to be a parent because of all that pressure and judgment and self-judgment, and you could do everything right and still there's no guarantee how the child will turn out, and they'll probably rebel against you because you were too perfect. I just added that bit on. I actually remember watching a Dr. Phil show one time, and there was this adult child on blaming her mother because her mother went out to work rather than staying home to raise her. And, he was like, she's given you a wonderful example of being an independent woman, and what if she did stay home? You'd resent her for something else.
Yes, exactly. Well, James was who was the one who was started with the you conditionally love me, Mum, and I'm like, what? And then he explained. He was also saying he remembers, because I worked from home. He said you were around, but you weren't. Because I'd be working. And so it was sort of like, well, why are you here? And like he felt like I wasn't there. I mean, even though I would stop. And, I was fortunate enough because I worked from home. I was involved with reading at school and bike ed. But for him, again, it's there, and of course, if I had gone out to work out of the house and we had to leave at 7:30 and didn't get home till 7:30.
He would have felt that. Well, now the other thing is the TV.
Yes.
This is an interesting one. I had a lot of guilt over that because I was also very interested in Steiner, who was very no TV.
Yes.
But we would often have the TV on, and I'd come out, I'd be on the phone or something, and the kids would be watching TV, and I'd come out, the TV would be on, and there'd be nobody there watching it.
Yeah.
So they'd just go and do their own thing, and so they weren't really glued. I noticed that there were kids that came to our house and a TV would be on and they would be glued to it, whereas our kids, whatever. But I still had a lot of guilt around it.
Yeah, and look, because as I said before, I was quite strict with the amount of screen time. And, as computers came into the house, it was also the same. But once they got to a certain age, it got very difficult to police that. But, of course, because I've got 4 and there's a gap, my youngest, he got to do a lot of things that my older ones didn't do. And by the time we extended our house, the kitchen was at the back end and the front room where they had the TV was in the other end of the house, because I wouldn't have a TV in the back room, partly because it reverberated, and I just thought it was nice to have a place where there wasn't a TV. So, and I'd be hearing, as I'm cooking, I'd be hearing noises in the front, and it sounded like violence. And of course, I've got a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old, and I'm going, what are you listening to? What are you watching? Nothing, Mum. Is this appropriate? Yes, it's appropriate. And of course, I'd go up and they'd be watching Terminator or something. Now, I tell you, it didn't affect him.
My husband would watch those shows with the kids. I would never watch them. Yeah.
So I found that really interesting, because I've been so specific about not allowing my kids to watch these movies. But a bit like what you said, any opportunity. My eldest, when he was about 9, he was getting looked after by my girlfriend's father. And she had her son as well, and they talked him into getting the Terminator. They were 9 and 8 years old, and he said, "Are you sure this is okay?" Yeah, it's fine.
Yes, okay, well, that's his fault for letting 9-year-olds sway him.
Yes.
Oh, dear. Yes, well, the other thing that my daughter mentioned was she remembers going away a lot. So we, and when she said, because my mum is now passed away, but my mum lived in Paynesville for a lot of their life. She lived in Melbourne most of my life, but then moved to Paynesville. And Shane's parents have always lived in Horsham originally, and then Echuca. So, we would forever be driving places to visit parents. So, and
did they say that was a nice experience, or just they remember that experience?
She didn't say it was either way.
Right.
Yeah. So it was just, Oh, Bianca said, my youngest, she said last night that one of her fond memories is of going to Nanny's in Paynesville, because Nanny had a Japanese or a Buddha garden and she had a lovely view, and she'd go and play. But she often had the experience of getting into trouble. So she'd get into trouble for touching things in the Buddha garden, or she got in trouble for touching Nanny soaps, or, she was always in trouble. She's a bit of a mischievous kid.
Or she's got a great sense of adventure.
That's right.
And, yes. The other thing my kids remembered was because I had 4 children and I did feel at times a missing for me of not having that special time with each of them. So I created a special day off. So once a term, each child got a special day off once they were at school, and all of them remembered that and what fun that was, because it was basically, you choose what we're going to do. Obviously we can't go to Sydney and back, but within reason. Often it would be a movie that we'd go to, a special movie that they wanted to see, or we'd just go to the shops. And I'd often take my kids to, like in those days you had those big Toys R Us, they might still exist.
Displays. Yeah.
No, the big shops, toy shops,
yes.
huge, those really big ones.
Yeah.
And I'd take them and they would look and work out what they wanted to buy for birthdays or Christmases, and that was often an outing for us, and we never bought.
Oh.
And I'd say to them, we're not buying anything. This is just have a look and whatever. But on their special day off, I would buy them something.
Oh.
So, yeah. So I thought that was nice, because I found those days very special as well.
Yeah, that's really great. I actually remember you telling me that, and I tried to do it. It just wasn't there. And that's the thing, right?
Yes.
Doing what comes naturally as a parent, and not trying to be everything and everyone. Like you obviously had the fun and play.
And you had the snuggles and the TV. And
I did. Yeah. I had the snuggles. I mean, the TV I used to feel a bit of a fight with, because it was, I shouldn't. But we loved it. And the other thing is, we did a lot of cooking.
Yes.
And baking. And so, and the kids now have jobs in hospitality. So, and 2 of them got thrown straight into the kitchen when they turned up at a cafe, because they were, oh, you kids can cook. Off you go, because it's not a common thing.
No. Yeah. You did create a love of cooking, which is, and it's still. I mean, during this interesting year we've had, that was something that you were doing with your kids during this time as well.
Well, they'll take charge of cooking a meal, and they have their specialties. So it's like, can you do nacho fries tonight, or can you do a pasta meal tonight? And it's nice. So the independent skills, they're quite strong. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, and that's right. I think that's one of the big things we've learnt throughout our discussion and really delving into this whole thing of parenting is do what works for you. You do you. Because if you try to do, if you try to do me and I try to do you, it won't work.
No, we'd be more stressed.
We would. Yes. What did Vicki do? Oh dear.
You've been listening to the Two Natural Ladies podcast. Visit twonaturalladies.com.au for more information. Thanks for joining us.